Welcome back to F1 Report, everyone. That's our second race at Silverstone, this time the 70th Anniversary Grand Prix in the bag. So let's take a look at the nuts and bolts over the course of the weekend to see how our favourite drivers and teams did. As usual, we'll start with qualifying, and from the off there seemed to be teams testing to find the right tyres. We saw some of the teams using softs, which started the lap well but appeared to be overheating by the end. And we also saw some teams using the mediums, which were the opposite, slow starters but finished the lap well. I thought this actually gave qualifying a nice feel. I always like it when there isn't just one strategy that all the teams stick to. As I think everyone predicted, the Mercedes were in a league of their own, having their own personal battle, with Valtteri Bottas winning this time out, just pipping his teammate Hamilton to pole. The real surprise coming out of qualifying was in third though, with Nico Hülkenberg putting his racing point on the second row of the grid. I can't tell you how excited I was to see that. He was 4/10 faster than his teammate too, with Lance Stroll down in 6th. In my preview video, I listed Renault as the team to watch, and Daniel Ricciardo did not disappoint in qualifying. He was consistently jostling for that third place spot with Verstappen and Hülkenberg, eventually having to settle for 5th behind both of those two. His teammate Ocon wasn't so electric, going out in Q2 and picking up a penalty for his troubles. Albon was the other driver I listed as one to watch, and while he did improve on his qualifying performance of recent times, he'll still be disappointed by starting 9th, I think. Ferrari continued their lackluster qualifying as well, with Vettel not even reaching Q3 once again and Leclerc down in 8th. Another team who surprisingly struggled was McLaren. It was the first time this season that one of their cars missed out on Q3, and even Super Lando himself could only achieve 10th. Gasly put in a stellar effort once again, qualifying in 7th. He really knows how to get the best out of that AlphaTauri. And George Russell did another great job getting his Williams into Q2. That's the 4th race in a row now as well. So now, let's dive into the juicy bit, the race. I found it so much better than last week. The tyre choices and the strategies really spiced things up, and we finally have a non-Mercedes race winner. Red Bull definitely played a blinder with their strategy calls, not just in the race but also getting Verstappen started on the hard tyres too. It also helped that he drove superbly and even knew when to overhaul the team, sensing the win was there for him. Albon, as usual, had a great recovery drive from a poor qualifying, getting up into 5th with some really nice overtakes. So what happened to Mercedes? In a word, blisters. Both Mercedes cars really struggled with hardcore blisters throughout. Bottas especially will be disappointed, starting on pole, desperately needing a win, and he ends up 3rd. He was used to cover off the pit stops of Verstappen as best as possible, while teammate Hamilton was on a more experimental strategy to try and secure the win. Both didn't pay off, but Hamilton's later stop for fresh tyres meant he could attack and overtake Bottas for 2nd with ease, which I'm sure will sting for Bottas. Much like last week, Ferrari have Leclerc to thank for sparing their blushes. He did a fantastic job bringing it home in 4th place on a one-stop strategy, something that only 2 other drivers were able to achieve. Vettel though was once again the opposite, managed to spin on the first lap and never quite recovering. I will say though, there were some nice moves for him during the middle of the race, but ultimately it never really came to anything as he finished outside the points in 12th. The Racing Points had all eyes on them this weekend, and they had a pretty quiet race honestly, finishing 6th and 7th with Stroll and Hülkenberg respectively. They were never quite fast enough to catch a Mercedes or a Red Bull, and were beaten by a one-stopping Ferrari, but never really in danger from the likes of McLaren or Renault. I think everyone in the world was hoping for a Hülkenberg podium, but sadly it really never looked likely. It did however look like he had 5th locked up, until a late pit stop dropped him back to 7th. I guess there was some race rustiness that crept in and he wasn't quite able to take care of the tyres as effectively as those around him, but it's still a great result given the time he's had in the car. Ocon in the Renault was another of the drivers to pull off a one stop, securing 8th for his team. However, in the early going it was actually Ricciardo that looked like he was on for a good points finish. This never really panned out for him, as he had to take an extra pit stop to those around him, and he had an off-track moment leading to a 14th place for him. I'm not sure if McLaren though will be disappointed or not. They seem to be on the back foot all weekend, and in the end Norris managed to grab 9th behind Ocon. Sainz had a harder time, once again losing time to a pit stop, a consistent problem for McLaren this season, which meant he was outside the points in 13th in the end. The AlphaTauris did what the AlphaTauris do, snap at the heels of the midfield teams, ready to pick up points, and that's exactly what they got. With Vettel, Sainz and Ricciardo all being held up for one reason or another, meant that both Kvyat and Gasly can pinch 10th and 11th. Kvyat will be very pleased to have a clean race, and coming out on top of his teammate as well, as Gasly seems to be the one getting all the praise at the moment. So Kvyat will be keen to remind everyone that he's still just as capable. Sadly, we didn't see any interesting strategies this time from Haas, so we didn't see much of them or Alfa Romeo and the Williams cars, beyond one instant really, where Magnussen went wide and then swiped into Latifi coming back on the track, which caused a 5-second penalty for himself. Magnussen would later to go on to retire and be the only retirement in the race actually. Overall, I really liked the race this weekend. I thought the softer tyres mixed with the hot conditions made for a really tense and interesting race. I found it refreshing to see Mercedes struggling too, and it shows that there are still weaknesses in that car that others can take advantage of. Obviously, I'm not suggesting they're going to go out and lose the championship or anything like that, but it's nice to know that we can get a different winner every once in a while when the conditions are right. Max and Red Bull obviously need to be given a great amount of credit for always fighting and not giving up to get that win as well. Next up, we have Spain next weekend, the final race of our current triple header. What did you guys think of the race? Was there anything you enjoyed that I might have missed? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next one.